Hi everyone. Crazy tough times at the moment. Self-isolation, disruption to everything we're doing. You know it's got bad in England when they've had to shut the pubs. It's even happened to my local, the Oaks, and the Globe, and the Sandpiper, and the Nelson, and the Ship, and the Rising Sun, and the Bear. We've heard about this fantastic new idea out of Japan. On-nomi means online drinking. Friends getting together, sharing a drink virtually when they couldn't share one together. So we've invited some of our friends, some of our PH ambassadors, some of the people we work with to have a chat and tell us how they're getting on in this crisis. Hello again everyone, it's Andy Blow from Precision Hydration with another On-nomi, online drinks, and this time I'm back in Australia. Well, I'm not back in Australia, but I'm talking to someone in Australia. Good evening, Sarah Crowley.
G'day. Yeah.
How are you doing?
Good to. Yeah, I'm doing really well. Yeah, down under it's a little quieter down here. We haven't had so much of a, outbreak of the virus. We've controlled it pretty well, but yeah, I'm lucky enough to be able to train in sunny Noosa at the moment. So yeah, it's good to have a chat.
Yeah, and I see you brought the captain with you.
Always.
So is this just reserved for Friday nights at the moment, or is this like more of a off-season kind of routine?
Well, actually, it's become more of a routine since we've had more time to enjoy the captain. No, so yeah, I mean, it's the unusual time, so you've got to be a bit more relaxed at the moment, I think, and yeah, I've spent 4 pretty solid years focusing on training and racing, and just having a little bit of flexibility and a bit of relaxation is not so bad at the moment.
Definitely, I know a lot of people are feeling like that. Now, I wanted to start with a little bit of reminiscing for you, because I'm sure you don't mind doing that. You had a fantastic year last year and topped it off with a podium finish in Kona. And there was this we were watching the race live from home on the internet, and we saw you move from 3rd place into 2nd place towards the end of the run when you passed Lucy, and then obviously she managed to make a pass back later on. And as an athlete myself, I sort of was thinking at the time, when I saw you pass Lucy, I thought any pass this late in the race is usually permanent. And just talk us through what happened there, and like the psychology of it, and what was going on, because I think that's a really interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the chase started as soon as we kind of obviously exited the water. I think Lucy had a more solid advantage than she normally would have had, because it was a little choppy on the way back into Kailua Kona, and yeah, so normally the gap would stay the same as it is or thereabouts from the turning boat. So she kind of got away a lot more than normal. She had a very good swim, and so our group went to work chasing her down, and we had a very strong group of runners and strong riders as well. And that group worked really well together, and everyone obviously shared really well and chased very well as a group. And so we got off the bike, and I guess the intention for me was to maximize my running potential. And, I guess having an ITU background is get through that transition area really quick. And it's probably something I've learned and experienced over the past 3 or 4 years at Kona, is that the transitions in Hawaii are like an ITU style thing. So I pretty much left transition of the group first. Annie had a little bit of a trouble with her bag, and I think a few of the others were new to Kona, so they just sort of maybe lost a bit of time. And I think for someone like Laura Phillip, that cost her a little bit, an opportunity maybe to chase me. But yeah, we got to work, and Annie passed me pretty early in the run. And she was running so fast, and I was like, wow, she's had an injury, and maybe she's overcooking this, and if she's not, then she's going to run real fast, and that's outside of my capability. So I focused on what I could do. And I was having a really good run. Like, I had a very good preparation last year. Everything went super. No injuries. We got everything dialed leading into that race. So I knew I was in good shape for the run. So I did push early. And then when I headed out to the energy lab, I saw that Annie had just passed Lucy. You could sort of see Annie going off into you can always see everyone because of the motorbikes. So Annie was heading off into the distance, and yeah, as we got to that turnaround in the energy lab, and I think earlier in the run I may have said to Annie, "Oh, great fair race because she rode really well and she took her turn and everything else. So it was she took a fair turn, and I sort of gave her that encouragement as she went past me earlier. And then she called out to me as we were passing, as in, I can catch Lucy also, which was quite motivating. And I probably maybe tried to do that too quickly. So once you can see someone, you're sort of drawn to them, and it did sort of up my cadence, up my intensity a little bit. And I probably, despite thinking I was focusing on myself, you still have that natural draw to that person. I guess throughout the entire race, I'd nailed the nutrition on every part of it, but I feel like perhaps I had missed maybe one gel being placed like on one of my special needs bottles or something, because I really messed up. Like I basically had no nutrition left, no energy nutrition left at the 35K mark, and so I could only resort to Coke and whatnot. And so because I could see Lucy, I was kind of not taking it as much through those aid stations at those points that I probably could have. And I knew I was on, everyone is, you're on the absolute river. You're pretty much close to being cooked. So I just kept going with what my legs were doing. I didn't really have a lot of choice. And like I said, I was sort of drawn to her and I passed. But you know what? Like, I'm a runner from background, and I knew that it was not a firm pass. Like, it was, I didn't get there and wait. I just went past gently, and that's not how you pass someone in a race. And I knew it as it was happening as well, but there was nothing I could do about it. My legs were going to run that speed. I was doing that, and that's how I was running at that point. And I did see a photo later by one of the people in our squad that had, the actual gap was quite significant at one point, but I didn't know that. I thought she was right there. And then we got to that hill leading into Palani, and like, she just came past again. Cam said that she kind of called out and had a rah and motivated herself, and she just went on. And I, when she came past, there was no reaction from me. I was just doing what I could do to not fall over or not pass out. It was a lot of agony. Like, it was done, and then I didn't feel, there's no, I don't feel bad about it because it was all there was. And that was my best performance on the day. And I was coming down a hill in Palani. I was in tears. I was in so much pain. Like, it was very painful. So I mean, Lucy couldn't really walk after either, so it was brutal, really. And I think at the end, it brings us together as competitors. We shared some moment. It wasn't a race against each other, even though it looks a lot like it was. It was a race against the race and your best performance. And I think we've got a lot of respect for each other from that moment. Similar to Heather Jackson in the Energy Lab 2 years before that.
Yeah, it's one of those races, isn't it, where exactly what you've said, the race is often against the course and against the event, and you happen to be like in the mix with other people, but it's very rare that you're doing anything more than doing what you can do. And it's good to hear that from...
Of course you want to be second or you want to be first, of course, but it's not personal. It's just what you can do.
Exactly, letting it all out on the day. So still talking about Kona, but changing gears a little bit. What's the current thinking from you about how that's going to play out for 2020? I know we're in like mid-April at the moment, and I'm asking you to speculate, but what do you think might happen?
Okay, so last year I knew there would be some changes to the program this year, with the rumours of the PTO and the Collins Cup and all these other races, obviously. So my theory was I'll go and qualify for Kona real early, get that sorted, and then take a proper shutdown and have a decent break, because we hadn't had that for 4 years. This is a really decent break now, but basically we
your wishes come true.
So I qualified in Arizona, so I'm free to race whenever it could be next week, and I'll go if I can. So I mean, for me, I'm not so concerned about when it is. I'll be ready. I'm doing the amount of training now that would give me a good decent 8 to 12 week lead up to that race. But who knows when it will be? I mean, they've not mentioned whether it will be on or not, or if they'll shift it. It's not really clear at all to anyone at this stage. So I mean, from a mindset perspective, my main issue with it is that usually I race solid competition leading in, and that's how I get to the level that I get to for that race. And I know other athletes are probably similar. I'm not the sort of person that goes away for 6 months, comes out and has the race of my life. I do build my year, and I need to harden my legs. So that's my biggest concern, is that I won't have a lead-in race or enough time for a lead-in race that is good enough to get me to that level that I need to be at. Because you can honestly kid yourself when you're not racing that you're fit. You need that yardstick to see where it's really at. So that's probably my biggest issue with it. If it moves, I don't care. If they cancel, I don't care. But I just need to know that when the time comes, I need to have those like preparation events.
Yeah, that could be tricky, couldn't it, given the travel situation? I was talking to the guys at the 220 Triathlon magazine in the UK the other day, because they were interviewing people in the industry about different aspects of it. And one of the themes that was coming out with talking to people was maybe there'll be a return this year to smaller local races for a lot of people. As things start to open up, because athletes are going to be itching to test their legs, they're going to be wanting to get out and do stuff, but international travel may be off the cards, really mass participation might be off the cards. So maybe we'll see some smaller events innovating and putting on kind of competitions to get people halfway to that and halfway back, and I'll be interested to see if that actually plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I heard today, for example, that Cairns Ironman's been shifted to mid to late September, which is almost impossible then to do Hawaii. However, if I can't leave the country, I have to do perhaps that race because it's a regional championship. And then you say, well, if you did perhaps leave Australia, can you get back in, or can you move to the next location? Like, if, say, races start to open up, can you even, how easy will travel across borders be, and will you need to quarantine, and what does that look like? Yeah, I mean, these are all just huge questions for us, I guess. So, yeah, at the moment, it's just maintaining that level of fitness where you can be quite flexible for what does open up, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I think local events are great. It's good.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of those, and we're also seeing online events. I know you've been participating. You participated recently in the Zwift bike race, I think, with a bunch of pro triathletes. How was that? Was that fun?
That was epic. For me, it was a really bad time zone. So being in Australia, you're always sort of maybe left out a little bit. Although we do have some pretty high quality athletes here. It's very hard for us to get online with Europe. And so for me, it was a midnight race.
Oh, yeah, that is tough.
Yeah. So triangulation of US, Europe, and Australia, I think, is usually about 9:30 at night from memory here. But perhaps maybe that's early morning in the US or something. I'm not sure. So yeah, I mean, maybe at least for the East Coast. So perhaps for the West Coast, it's at night. So it's so hard to make it work for everyone. I'm hoping maybe that they shift the time zones a little bit and give everyone a chance. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, I had to go to sleep beforehand, get woken up, then try to have a coffee and get going. It was a bit average.
Yeah. And how sort of there's a lot of pro athletes racing. What's your sense on like how we all race pretty seriously when the gun goes, whatever we're doing, but how serious are people taking that, or is it mainly seen as a bit of fun and something to do at the moment?
I think it's a bit of fun and something to do because there's no real outcome for the performance. So I think it's almost a really nice way for everyone to just get together. I mean, we were on the live Zoom. There was sort of 5 of us, and we would say Holly Lawrence, Lucy, Emma Pallant, a couple of others, Lisa Norton perhaps. But it was really nice to just see their faces and that everyone's training. And I think that was the nice element of it. And I think, I guess, and then, the boys came on, you saw them as well. So I think that's a nice thing to see that everyone's in the same boat. Obviously, we hurt ourselves pretty hard, but, there's so many factors that can be sort of manipulated, and there's also some tactics, and it's definitely not in any way likened to an Ironman feeling to me. Useful for training energy systems that are different, but it's not something that unless, I mean, it could become a race. That's the thing. In which case, then you need to adapt. But for the moment, I think it's a bit of fun, a hard hitter, a good way to see everyone, and I think it's great.
Yeah, to have a go. Now, before we were recording, we were just having a bit of a chat, and you mentioned something which I thought was really interesting about the fact that you're looking at this downtime that you've got at the moment as something which might, well, in your words, potentially lengthen your career in some ways because of the break from competition. So expand a little bit on that for me, if you would.
Well, my coach Cameron Watt and I have been working together since 2016, and at that time I still was working for 3 or 4 months. So
yeah,
once I stopped working, we just invested so much time and effort into re-engineering my swim, and then building myself up through the rankings and racing so much globally and traveling and constantly being, constantly looking at where can we add swim blocks, run blocks, ride blocks, hard race after hard race, competition after competition, limited downtime, short rest, and then we go again to try and keep pushing forward. And this is part of the reason why we looked at doing Arizona, shutting it down for December and having a really quite a slow build up this year.
Yeah.
So for me, it's given me that headspace where there's no race, there's no, there's still an intent to train and everything else because you need to obviously do your job, but it just doesn't have that little element of pressure. And I just think that it gives you the time to focus on some other things in your life that perhaps 4 years or whatever, and then you I guess self in sort of a better headspace perhaps then to push forward again and remotivate yourself over. And I know a number of other athletes are probably in a similar boat where it's just all been about racing, and you've sort of forgotten about things that you enjoy doing and everything else. So, and it's nice to be in one place for a bit of time too. I mean, we're just always on the road, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and you mentioned that obviously up until relatively recently, 2016, you were still working. For people that don't know, what was your day job at that point before pro triathlon kicked in?
Yeah, it was pretty hectic. I was a director at Deloitte in corporate finance, so my days were my weeks were 60 to 80-hour weeks.
Yeah,
preparing transaction services documents for due diligence reports and those kind of things for major takeovers in Australia and abroad. So yeah, it was pretty hectic, and a lot of that time was spent on some really significant sort of mining transactions and those kind of things. So I guess I had a semi-midlife crisis and wanted to try seeing how I go at triathlon again, because I was good enough to race World Series, but not good enough with the swim. And it just tied in really well with my current coach coming out of a cycling team to give it another go. So it's worked out pretty well so far. It's been a lot of effort though. A lot of effort.
I'm sure, and sort of taking some of that corporate work ethic and transferring it into the triathlon and vice versa. But with looking ahead to obviously like post triathlon career, do you see yourself kind of going back into the corporate world, or do you see yourself as hanging around in triathlon?
It's likely I'll be hanging around in triathlon.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's another good point in time now to sort of look at what I can do within the sport and have a think about that. So I had a few ideas the past few weeks, and it's all sort of loose at the moment. But there's some ideas there, and there's things then you can sort of start having conversations over the next few years and start teeing things up that might turn into something eventually. But if you never have those thoughts and brainstorm those ideas, then you don't start the process that will put you in the right position later on. So it's been good to be able to do that, plus getting on top of the German and all those sort of things, a little bit more time for that. So it's been not a total train wreck for me anyway.
No, I think if you've got we've all found that there's lots of other things that needed addressing that weren't getting addressed before this time. And it's a very small benefit, but it is a benefit nonetheless that we can spend some time on some other stuff at the moment, I think, for sure. Good stuff. Well, Sarah, thank you very much for taking your time. I'm sure you want to get back to whatever it is, Tiger King on Netflix, or have you, if you've not done that
Oh,
yet?
how good
Have
is
you
Tiger
done that?
King, right? Oh yeah, I've
Yeah.
done that. It's so good. Oh yeah.
Yeah. No,
What a
we've
sequel.
I'm just, yeah, exactly. I'm just about run out of it now. So I'll let you get back to whatever the next binge watch on Netflix is for your Friday night. And if you come up with anything good, shoot me a WhatsApp later, because I'll be getting on there in a few hours when I hit evening time.
Yeah, 2 p.m. right?
Yeah,
Friday,
exactly.
2 p.m.
Yeah, yeah. Good stuff. Well, lovely to talk to you. Keep well and keep safe. Keep training hard, and we'll check in with you again soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot, Sarah.